Hi everyone, I'm Julia Henze, an artist, urban sketcher, and art teacher dedicated to guiding you on your creative journey. I'm also the founder of Brave Brushes Studio, a membership for amateur artists and urban sketchers that will help you experience the joy of play in your artistic process. If you wish, you can paint soft, beautiful, and elegant lines more consistently with watercolor. This three-part series is for you. In this series, you will learn different ways to use a rigger brush, which is this brush with a very long bristles. It's perfect to use anytime you want to paint long, thin, and interesting strokes. In part 1, which is linked in the description below, you learned the technique for painting loose trees and elegant branches. Today, in part 2, you will learn a technique for painting reflections on water. In next week, in part 3, we will cover a technique for painting dynamic boat and power lines. The rigger brush is a difficult brush to master, but it's worth experimenting with. You will never achieve exactly the same effect using a brush with shorter bristles. That said, if you don't have a rigger brush, you can do these exercises with a small round brush with stiffer bristles instead. Okay, let's get started. And again, before we start practicing, I want to show you a few of my sketches to make you inspired and motivated for practicing. So you can see here that I painted the lines, the reflections of the boat lines in the water, and then are so elegant, so beautiful. And with the rigger brush, you create a very natural look in the water, different than you paint with a thicker brush, of course, or with a shorter brush. Okay, so here also actually the same way, the thicker line or the mast is done with the thicker strokes, the thinner lines are done with the thinner strokes. And also for the lines, not for the reflections, for the lines, we can use the rigger brush. We will see it in the next video. Okay, and when I practice with this technique before I start painting and making a sketch like I showed you before, I actually fill a whole page with the exercises, with this practicing strokes. So I would say don't hesitate to practice. Okay, so now let's go over to practicing actually. Again, as we did before in the previous part with the trees, we need some paint on the palette. We put some paint on the palette, and this time we use a mixture of blue and paint gray. If you don't have paint gray, you can also use indigo, for example, or maybe black. I don't like black that much, but if you mix it with blue color, ultramarine blue, for example, then it's actually quite good. Okay, so we have quite a large pool of water here, and we have the rigger brush and we can paint. But again, before we start painting, it's important to relax your shoulder, to relax your arm, and to relax your wrist. And this time, with the trees, we used especially our wrist for painting, because we painted short lines. These lines will be a little bit longer, so it's important to paint from your whole arm actually, so not from your wrist. But the wrist should be very relaxed, otherwise you can't create beautiful lines. Okay, so and we hold our brush again vertical to the paper. Okay, and what we're going to do now, we will actually paint kind of aids. So we use a kind of rocking, moving, like we are rocking on the waves, and creating some eights, some like this. And you can see that it's also quite difficult for me because I'm not really nervous for this video, but I'm a little bit excited about it, and then it's more difficult to paint. Okay, so but we need to paint. They shouldn't be all the same, but it's important that you understand how to practice with it. Okay, so something like this. Okay, we also can paint the shorter ones. Let's do that. And you can see that sometimes we skip a part, and it's not intentionally, by the way, it's just something that you get when you're painting, and you don't need to paint the whole 8. It's more interesting when you do it like this. And some of it's quite difficult to create an 8, and that's a good thing. Don't try to do it, because on one hand we try to create 8s, but on the other hand we don't need these 8s. It's something that we have sometimes in the water reflection, but we don't need to have it all the time. So this is a beautiful reflection, but this is a practicing actually the exercise, because the reflections work a little bit different. Because of perspective, we usually see something like this. So we start with a shorter or with the longer lines, and closer to us they start to get narrower and narrower, shorter and shorter. And we can add some darker paint to create this beautiful accents. I don't know what it is. It's just something that creates a more interesting reflection. Okay, what we also can do, the last exercise, is that we try to rotate our brush. So let's start here with this kind of 8, then we rotate the brush and go the other side, and then this way the line will be even more interesting. Add some darker dots, and I think this is a very cool reflection like this. If you have a boat, you can see here in my example, in my sketch, that this kind of reflections actually look very natural, very elegant, and very beautiful. Today you've learned how to use a rigger brush to paint reflections on water. You aren't going to master the techniques in this series in a day, so keep practicing and the results will be worth it. And if you want to develop these techniques further, consider becoming a member of Brave Brushes Studio at bravebrushes.com. The membership includes some fantastic intermediate lessons to practice these watercolor techniques, from reflections on water to a gorgeous red capping in a snowy forest. And you can even ask me for personalized feedback on your sketches. Let me know in the comments how you found today's exercise compared to last week. Which is your favorite so far? Don't forget to like this video and subscribe to my channel. Happy sketching, guys, and I'll see you next week for part 3, where we will look at the technique for painting dynamic boat and for our lines.